Hello lovely. The moss stitch is a really common stitch used in crochet, but today I'm going to use it in a different way. If you're looking for a simple and easy crochet edging that sits neatly on your body and works beautifully around your garment openings and edges, the moss stitch is a really lovely option. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how I use the moss stitch for the sleeve and neckline edging on my Emily top, which is my pattern on lovelylovelydesign.co.uk. In this video I'm going to focus on the sleeve edging as a demonstration, and I'll use a small mock-up size using my son's teddy bear as a demonstration, but I also will point out any extra steps or considerations that you'll need to make for working up the v-neck portion. At a later date I will also put a more detailed video showing you how to work the v-neck separately, but this video should be sufficient for you to get started. So enough being said, let's get started. For the moss stitch, you would work an initial row of single crochets. So I'm going to start at the underarm seam for this slip knot. So insert it at the seam, and then I'm going to weave this in as I go, and then what you're going to do is evenly single crochet all the way around. And then when you get to the end, you will slip stitch into the first stitch so that it joins the round together. Just go into the top seam. You're working it nice and evenly. Now we are working in the side of a stitch as we go around the sleeve, so just use your judgment on making sure it's not too floppy or puckered, not too tight, that it's sitting nice and even and flat. And then whatever you do to this side you have to do to the opposite side, so you want to make sure that they have the equal amount of stitches to start with. So just make sure that you count them and check them and make sure they're balanced, and that's the same for the neckline, especially if it's a v-neck. You want the same amount of stitches on both sides of the V so that you don't have a lopsided top. Okay, so I have almost got to the end of this row 1, my setup row. Do a slip stitch here. There we go. Now we're now on the moss stitch, so we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet, chain 1 into the first stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and do that all the way around. And then when you get to the end you're going to stagger the stitch, so wherever your chain 1 is now your chain space, and you're going to work that. So we don't work every stitch, we don't work into the single crochets anymore, we just work into the chain spaces. It's also called the grit stitch or the linen stitch. It's good for garments, and it's also good for, like, if you're making washcloths and things, that's got a nice texture but not too much of a yarn eater, and not wholly. Nice and tight and tidy. Okay. It's also a good stitch if you're felting it at the end, you know, making it like felted wool. Okay, so here I've got my initial row, so again I'm going to slip stitch. Oops. Like that. And chain one, and I'm going to turn this time, and we're going to work into the chains and chain spaces only. So single crochet into the chain space, chain one, single crochet into the chain space, chain one, always skipping the actual stitch. You can tell because if you pull it apart, it's the one that's got the widest little hole. There's the stitch has got sort of 3 lines on it, and then there's a space. And then you just work your way around. Single crochet, chain one, into the chain space. That gives it a nice finish, because we don't want ribbing on the edge of your sleeve for this particular type of garment. You want it to be nice and loose. Now I'm not using the nice thin silky yarn that I would use for an actual garment. As I said earlier, I'm using just yarn that I've got left over, so yeah, it's not the yarn I would choose for this particular project, but it does the job. Almost there. At the beginner level you might panic a little, am I putting it in the right part, but eventually it becomes intuitive. Your hand will guide you and you'll not really have to think about it. So I'm going to just finish with a slip stitch there, and I'll cut my yarn. I'll pull this through, and obviously if this was a real garment I would take more care to weave it in. That's how it looks, quite nice and neat. And I'll just bring it through a few times. I'm sure my son's Teddy won't mind too much if it's not perfect. There we go. So that is the edging. Now obviously this is very thick compared to the actual garment, but on your real project it's going to just be a small layer, a small band compared to the whole sleeve. And then I would work the same on the other side. As I said, make sure you've got the same amount of stitches. And then on the neckline, the only difference is that you might want to work a couple more rows, depending, especially if you're finding it's too low in the bust for you. You would be able to work a few more rows to bring that a little bit thicker. But there's one or two extra things that you would have to do on a v-neck, and that is you want to keep it a v-neck, so to cinch it in each time when you come to the point of your V, you, instead of single crochet chain one, you would work 3 together. You would work the central stitch and the next door neighbour from either side together as one, and that would bring it in together. If you're finding that it's still not giving you the best shape, you could even do a slip stitch in here as well. But working them 3 together will bring it in nice and neatly. The other thing you might want to do is, if you're finding that it's a little bit gapy at the top, just work 2 stitches together without the chain, like as in don't put the chain in at the top seam, just one, and that will bring it in a little bit neater for you if you're having that issue. But don't do it too much or else you'll not be able to get your neck through. if you don't do the slip stitches or the decrease at the point, what you will do is you'll end up with it being floppy at the neckline and gapy and not sitting nicely. It might even fold out the way like that. So we want to keep this nice V shape, and that only happens when you cinch it in as you go on there. So work 3 together, 3 single crochets together on the bottom V without the chain, and it'll be beautiful. So hopefully that's helped you, and again, leave a comment for me, leave some questions, any pictures and things. Make sure you tag me. I would love to see your projects, and if you've got any suggestions on anything else you want me to cover, please again get in touch or leave a comment, and make sure you like. Okay, until next time, bye lovely.